Barikiwe ni Mungu anatenda. Pokea sifa na heshima Jehova, maana kutenda. Kwa Kristo Yesu mwana Mungu tumetukiamini.
Ee Mungu nguvu yetu, ilete baraka kwetu, haki iwe ngao na mlinzi, na tukae na undugu, amani na uhuru, raha tupate na ustawi. Thank you. We may take our seats, and then we proceed to do a very quick round of introduction so that we know who is represented in the small crowd that we have. And when you introduce yourself, please tell us your name and the organization you work for. I'll start with myself. My name is Immaculate Mwende. I come from EPRA.
Good morning. My name is Jack Minor from Mombasa County Council of Elders.
Good morning. My name is John Tsuma, Old Boy Enterprises.
Titus Mwendwa, Kenya Pipeline.
Caleb Maritime, Kenya Pipeline.
Assumpta Muinde, CHP.
Hussein Kingi, Mass Group.
Kevin Mranda, Candid Petroleum.
Joseph Agutu, EK.
Mbide Maureen, KPRL.
Good morning. Kenya, Total Energies.
Good morning. Clarice Atieno, Coast Citizen Council.
Goreti Aluoch, Maendeleo ya Wanawake Organization.
Amina Hamisi Shika, Kikodi.
Sidialo Joy, Balstream Logistics.
Good morning, Jacqueline Kiamba, VTTI.
Good morning, Roy Gituma, EPRA.
Good morning, Brian Kibet, IPRA.
Kasuja Onyonyi, Kenya Pipeline.
Good morning, Abdullah Omar, EPRA.
Good morning, Stella Opakas, EPRA.
Good morning, Elizabeth Akinyi, Kenya Pipeline.
Morning, everyone. My name is Lona Diegon from EPRA.
Good morning, everyone. Wawero Karanja, EPRA.
Good morning. I'm Pius Mwendwa from KPC.
Hello, Zilpa Bongo, KPC.
Good morning, Nelson Karisa, KPRL.
Good morning, everyone. Cynthia Taru, Sign Language Interpreter.
Good morning, I'm Sheila Tonui, EPRA.
Good morning, I'm Paul Nzioki, EPRA.
Thank you. I appreciate that we all know each other now. The next order of business is to... I don't have the program. The next order of business is to have the opening remarks by the Director General of EPRA, who was meant to be with us here today but is held up with another assignment. So he sent a representative who will be able to deliver a message. That said, I will request Waweru Karanja, EPRA's Deputy Director for Pricing, to give us the DG's message. Waweru.
Asante, thank you very much, Immaculate.
I don't know where you go. Mnaniona vizuri? I'm visible? I'm audible? Okay. Good morning. Good morning once again. My name is Wawero. I work for the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority. And we are happy to see you here today. Kusema kwamba mko wachache sio kusema kwamba hamjakuja. Kwa hivyo tunawashukuru nyinyi ambao mmeweza kujitoa, kutupatia wakati wenyu mdogo, kuja kutusikiza. Tunashukuru sana. Na tuko hapa kuwakilisha mambo ambayo tutawaelezea as the day goes on. Lakini as my colleague has mentioned at the very beginning, si vizuri kuongea bila kupata baraka ya mkubwa. Tumepata ya Mungu, sasa tupate ujumbe kutoka EPRA, ambapo tumekuja kuwakilisha. Kama mtaniruhusu, ningependa nisome haya maneno machache kutoka mkurugenzi wa idadi yetu ya EPRA, ambayo itaanzisha huu mkutano wetu wa leo. Representatives from Kenya Pipeline Company, industry stakeholders present, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is with utmost gratitude that I welcome every participant to today's workshop to deliberate on a matter of national importance, which is the Kenya Pipeline Company import handling, primary storage, and truck loading tariffs. As you are aware, the Kenya Pipeline Company manages several common user petroleum logistics facilities that are crucial to the storage, transportation, and distribution of petroleum products across Kenya. These include the pipeline network, the storage depots, the jetties, and the loading terminals. KPC charges a tariff for the uses of its infrastructure. These tariffs are reviewed and approved every 3 years through a public participatory process facilitated by the Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority, EPRA, which is why we are here today. Under the Energy Act of 2019, EPRA is mandated to ensure fair and reasonable tariffs for KPC services. Section 11B of the Act empowers the authority to set, review, and approve tariffs and contracts related to common user petroleum logistic facilities and products. In addition, Section 10HH mandates EPRA to protect the interests of consumers, investments, and other stakeholders. And finally, Section 163(4) further clarifies that tariffs must be just and reasonable, and further that they must ensure that licensees such as KPC can maintain their financial integrity, can attract capital, can operate efficiently, and can fairly compensate investors for risks assumed. This process, ladies and gentlemen, is why we are here today, and I will just provide a brief background. We have given you this invitation, and the purpose of this invitation is to give comments on the application sent to us on the 28th of March 2024 by the KPC, who are seated here with us today. And in this application, they sought a review of the existing tariffs, as I have told you, import handling, primary storage, and truck loading. This tariff period will cover 21 and 2024, and the current tariff has since lapsed and was extended for a 2-month period ending this November 2024. It is important to note that all refined petroleum products transported into the country, that is petrol, diesel, and kerosene, come through the Kipevu oil terminal. These products are then discharged into primary storage facilities, which is, the main one is Kipevu Oil Storage Facility, as well as the privately owned VTTI. And ladies and gentlemen, in terms of calculation of the tariff, KPC uses the rate of return approach, which involves calculating the allowed rate of return on the regulated assets, as well as considering factors such as depreciation, operating costs, and throughput projections. These proposed tariff amendments are based on KPC assessments of its costs and the need to maintain a fair rate of its regulated assets. Overall, the proposed tariff review has the potential to have a significant impact on the Kenya petroleum sector. It is important for all stakeholders, yourselves here today, to carefully consider the implications of these changes and take appropriate steps to mitigate any negative consequences. As a regulator, we will consider the tariff review request made, and through consultations made with you, consider the final rates that will ensure both the sustainability of the sector and licensee and protection of the consumer throughout the chain. As I conclude, ladies and gentlemen, I want to emphasize that this public participation process is not a formality, but an integral part of our democratic process. Your voices matter, and your perspectives will shape the future of our sector. As we progress to the next stage of our agenda, I therefore hope to see lively and constructive dialogue between us. Asanteni sana. Hayo ni maneno machache kutoka mkurugenzi mkuu wa Energy Petroleum Regulatory Authority, na ambapo sasa tumeanza mkutano kirasmi. Na kabla nikae chini, kabla nirudishe jukwaa kwa wenzangu ambao wanatuhudhuria, ningependa kusema tena, la kwanza niseme asante asante kwenyu kukuja huku leo kuwa nasi, na la pili ni kusema kwamba tumekuja leo kuwashauri, kuwasikiza, hatujakuja kupiga muhuri. Yani, this is not a rubber stamp process. KPC wamekuja hapa, wako na maombi, wanaomba tupitishe kama EPRA zile bei ambazo wanataka kuwa nalipisha meli inapokuja kwa port, inapofika. Alafu inapofika, hiyo mafuta ikitoka kutoka kwa bahari mpaka itakapofika mpaka kwa station, kama ni Nairobi, kama ni Kisumu, kama ni Nakuru, kuna malipo ambayo kwa hizo harakati huwa lazima ulipe. Kenya Pipeline wamekuja leo kumuomba, kusema tunataka tulipwe hii, tunataka tulipwe hii. Na sisi vile tumepewa nguvu na katiba ya Kenya, tumewalinda, tumewashika mkono, tumekuja nao, na tunasema kwamba tunataka kusikiza. Kuna mtu wa Kenya Pipeline atakuja, atamuelezea malipo yote ambao wanataka kupunguza ama labda kuongeza. Watu wa EPRA pia wako hapa kujibu maswali, lakini nataka kumshauri tafadhali, msinyamaze. Tukirudi Nairobi msije kusema kwamba hatukuja kuona maoni yenu. Tunakusanya maoni yenu ambayo imeandikwa kwa katiba letu la Kenya, na tunamuomba tafadhali mtupatie wakati, msikize kwa makini, mtuulize maswali, ndivyo tufanye hii kazi vile inafaa kufanywa, including the people's views. Kwa hayo machache, nashukuru sana. Asanteni sana kwa kuwa nasi, and I think Immaculate, I can give it back to you. Asanteni sana.
Thank you Waweru. Thank you for those remarks. Najua Waweru ameongea Kiswahili nikakumbuka kwamba niko Mombasa. Lakini Kiswahili si mdomo changu. Kwa hivyo mtanisamehea nizungumze kwa lugha ya Kiingereza. Thank you. At this point, I'd like to ask is it Zilpha or the gentleman? I'd like to ask Zilpha Abongo from Kenya Pipeline to deliver the message from their MD, because this is their application.
Good morning. As Deputy Director Karanja has said, we're here to make a plea based on the tariff principles that guide our applications, and we hope that you would listen keenly, but also take into consideration the impact on consumer as well as to our business. So on behalf of our Managing Director and our board, we request your indulgence, and we hope that this will be a productive session. So kutoka Kenya Pipeline Company, tunajua pwani ndio bomba la mafuta na tunatumaini hizi majadiliano yatakuwa effective na yatatuleta karibu to a point of agreement. Asanteni.
Thank you, Zulfa. Let's appreciate her with a better clap. Asante. At this point, I don't know whether Mr. Joseph Biwott from the Interior Ministry is still with us, so that I can speak on behalf of the County Commissioner or the national government. Joseph Biwott, are you still with us? Okay. He was around, but I think he left for other duties, so we'll be able to proceed. And at this point, I'd like to ask, because we are entering into the technical part of today's program, I'd like to ask Mr. Leonard Yegon to please come forth and share with us a deeper understanding of why we are here today. And then after that, we will proceed straight into the presentation by KPC. Yegon, please proceed.
Thank you, Elizabeth. So, hamjambo nyote tena. I think it comes naturally that when you're in Mombasa, you speak Swahili. So you'll allow me to have a blend, both English and Swahili, so that we're able to understand each other. So my main role, or rather singular duty here, is to do, if you look at the program, is to set the objective. What do we intend to achieve here? What do we want to do here? And so that we, at the end of it all, we say the day has been a success. So, and thank you for the groups that are here. I think I've heard about the industry players. We have some civil society organizations. And I think we are happy to have you here. So I think our representative of the DG has read out a speech, and it was almost setting the mood and the objective of why we are here, because one of the mandates of EPRA, and I think mentioned in the speech, is that we are mandated to review, set, and approve tariffs for common user facilities. So we are gathered here today to review, or rather solicit feedback from an application made by KPC to the authority. KPC did make an application for a review of imports handling, primary storage, and truck loading tariff. Yeah, so KPC handles the imports of the petroleum products that come into the country. That product is discharged to the primary storage facilities that we have here in Mombasa, that is COSEF, KPRL. So for them to be able to provide that service, they need to have a tariff. And they will be demonstrating to us what goes into the determination of that proposed tariff. Because they'll be telling us that for me to be able to provide this service over the next 3 years, I need to put up infrastructure. I need to meet my operations and maintenance cost. I need to make a return on this investment that I'm making. So in totality, this is the amount of money that I need for me to be able to provide that service. So that money now translates to a tariff that is going to be approved eventually by the regulator. So KPC made that application in March. We've been having engagements with KPC since then, back and forth discussions. We're almost in the tail end of this process, but the Constitution and the Energy Act requires that before we make any determination on such a particular matter before the authority, we need to solicit feedback from the stakeholders. And stakeholders in this case are all those groups of people, the public, that are going to be affected by whatever decision that will be made by the authority. So as Mr. Owiro has mentioned, a decision has not yet been made. This process is meant to inform whatever decision that will be made eventually. So I would urge you to listen keenly to the presentation that KPC is going to make. It's a very technical presentation, but please, I know Elizabeth will be able to translate those numbers into the numbers that you can understand and relate, and how it will eventually affect you as a mwananchi, or you as a user of that facility, how it will affect you. So in doing that, EPRA is also required to balance the interest of all the stakeholders, be they investors, consumers, because at the end of the day, you don't want to have KPC not being able to provide that service. At the end of the day, you don't want mwananchi not being able to access product. You want to ensure that there is security of supply in the country. So we are here, get feedback from you, and try and balance the interest of all those stakeholders that I've mentioned. So please, let's begin and listen to the presentation that will be made by KPC, which will form the backbone of the discussions that we are going to have after that presentation. So Immaculate, if you allow me, I think I can invite Elizabeth so that she takes us through the next agenda.
Thank you so much, Leo. My name is Elizabeth, as has been mentioned, and I have the privilege of representing KPC in sharing with you the application that we've made to EPRA. And thank you so much, EPRA, for the opportunity to engage with the stakeholders as we make our request for a tariff review. And we also appreciate the stakeholders here present for coming to listen to us and engaging with us on the charges that we are proposing to charge for the services that we offer here at the Coast region. So my presentation will be threefold. I'll first share with us KPC, an overview. We need to understand KPC and the services we offer and the infrastructure that we have in place. Then I'll briefly just take us through the tariff that has just ended. That is the old tariff that came to an end in June 2024, and we are now reviewing. And then we'll get into the numbers as we look at the application that we are making. So briefly, Kenya Pipeline Company, I believe we all know, ini kampuni yetu. It is a government-owned company, incorporated in 1973, and we started commercial operations in 1978 after the construction and commissioning of the first pipeline from Mombasa, that ran from Mombasa to Nairobi. Recently, we've acquired KPRL. I'm sure you in Mombasa are aware that KPRL stopped refining in September 2013. Around 2017, we got into an arrangement with them to lease the facilities because they have quite a lot of storage capacity, and we were able to lease that and manage it to just help support the petroleum supply chain. But come October 2023, we acquired KPRL, and now they are fully part of KPC. Our core mandate is to handle petroleum products. We receive them at the port, we transport, store, and deliver the bulk products. As you're all aware, we don't own the products, but they are owned by the OMCs, so our mandate is just to handle it once it's imported. We serve not only the Kenyan economy, but we also touch the entire region with products that come through the pipeline are delivered into Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Eastern DRC. We are felt as far as South Sudan, and we also do handle a bit of northern Tanzania. Now, as a company, our vision really is to be a premier organization, to be a premier oil and gas company. And as we do so, we hope to transform lives through safe and efficient delivery of quality oil and gas. That is the network. The pipeline, as currently installed, we have one line from Mombasa to Nairobi. Then we have parallel lines running from Nairobi to Eldoret, and parallel lines from Sinendet to Kisumu. So we have a total loop of 1,342 kilometers of pipelines. We used to have the old pipeline, line 1, as it was commonly referred to, that was commissioned in 1978, but we have since retired it because it was old and was no longer safe to operate. We have storage facilities and also truck and rail loading facilities at the Western Kenya Depot. For the international airports, we are also able to provide what we call the hydrant service, whereby the aircrafts are loaded directly from the tanks for efficient management of the entire loading process. Then lastly, we have the Kisumu Oil Jetty, constructed in 2018, that has facilitated transportation of petroleum products through Lake Victoria, currently into Uganda. So that is the capacity of the lines that we have. We are able to deliver 10 million cubic meters into Nairobi. Then through the first line to Eldoret, we are able to deliver 1.8 million cubic meters. The second line can give us 2.9 million cubic meters. And into Kisumu, the two lines can give us 915,000. That is the old line, and the new line gives us 2.4 million cubic meters. And those are figures given per annum. In terms of storage capacity, we are doing quite well. As an organization, we have 1 million storage capacity. You'll notice that the bulk of it is in Mombasa, where we have KOSUF, the main facility used for receiving imports. We have brought on board KPRL, and over time, we've been able to convert the tanks that used to handle crude oil, and currently we've brought on board 284,000 of the storage capacity in Changamwe, and we've also been working with KPRL to bring on board the tanks that were handling crude oil in Port Reitz, and very soon the tanks will be commissioned. They are done, they have been cleaned and rehabilitated. We are just waiting for connectivity of the facility to KOT and also to line 5. So once that is done, the Port Reitz tanks will be put into use. Then we have storage facilities in Eldoret, Kisumu, Nakuru, and also in Nairobi. Product delivery, like I mentioned, to the airport, at the international airports, product delivery is through the hydrant. When you go to Western Kenya, we have truck loading facilities. But in Nairobi, what we do is we transfer the products to the oil marketing companies who have storage facility next to our depot, and they are able then to load the products from there. Our clients, as I mentioned, are the oil marketing company. Now, KPC has two sets of tariffs. We have the tariff that we charge for receiving and storing the imports, and we also have the tariff that we charge for transporting the products to the hinterland and also storing and delivering it. So the purpose of discussion today is really the import handling, what we charge for the facilities here in Mombasa. I'm sure some of you are conversant with the facilities that we have. We all know that we have a new jetty, Kipevu Oil Terminal. For purposes of this illustration, we call it KOT2. This is a KPA facility, but they've allowed us to manage it because once the vessels come, then the products need to be managed or handled by KPC. So this is a new facility which is a game changer really for the entire region, because previously we used to have the old jetty that would only be able to handle one vessel at a time. But the new vessel can currently handle the new jetty can currently handle 3 vessels and has a provision to handle up to 4 vessels at the same time in future. And the jetty is connected with pipelines and to enable the vessels to discharge into Kosovo and in future, or by December this year, into Port Reitz. We also do appreciate that some of the products brought in also are received at VTTI. So the tariff we are looking at today is to do with handling of the products at KOT2 into the what we call primary storage facilities. And also we have a truck loading facility at KPRL Changamwe, and it is part of the discussions this morning. So what have we been charging? We've been charging is what was approved by EPRA in July 2021 with some amendments in October 2022, and it covered 3 years. It ran from 2021-22 to 2023-24. So the tariff control period came to an end in June, but it has since been extended to November 2024. So the rates that we were charging, I'll just read them in dollars, was in 2021-22, it was at $3.59 per cubic meters. It went down in the next year to 3.47 and increased in the subsequent year to 3.74 cubic meters in US dollars. Now for truck loading, the rate that we were allowed was $2.5 per cubic meters, 2.7, and then dropping to 2.6 in the final year of the tariff control period. So those are the tariffs that we had that are now being reviewed. In approving the tariff, EPRA, can you allow that I finish, please? Take notes of the issues that we have. We shall be given an opportunity to then make our comments or give the queries. Now, the tariff that was approved, in that tariff we were allowed to make some investment, and we have done so. KPC and KPRL has worked together to ensure that the truck loading facility at KPRL Changamwe, which was quite old and still is in use but was quite inefficient, we've been able to upgrade part of it and also construct a completely new facility, which is currently operational as from July, and we are using it to load products. Then we've been able to construct an LPG truck loading facility. We didn't have one before, but I'm sure you're aware that we have storage facilities for LPG at Changamwe. What used to happen is that the product would be received through Shimanzi into Changamwe, KPRL Changamwe, and then pumped over to the oil marketing companies who had the facilities for bottling and truck loading. So we've now constructed one, which is already in use, and we are asking that the industry consider using this facility. Then the big project really for us has been the rehabilitation of potteries, and through the rehabilitation of potteries, we've brought on board 100,000 cubic meters extra capacity into the region for import handling. And the connectivity works for that terminal to KOT2 and Kosovo and Line 5 to enable receipt and pump overs is almost complete. We are at 90%, and we expect that by December, potteries should be active. Then lastly, we were able to connect KPRL Changamwe to Line 5, because initially it was connected to the old line, Line 1, which was retired, and there was need to ensure that when products are received into Changamwe, that we are able to then pump it over into Line 5. So what is KPC asking for? We've already mentioned that the tariff control period for the other tariff has come to an end. Leo and the Deputy Director has already mentioned the fact that we made an application. We've had some engagement with EPRA querying our numbers, and we are now collaborating with EPRA to bring these numbers to you so that we can also hear your opinion, get your views, even as EPRA then moves to make the final determination. So it's important for us to first of all understand that even as KPC comes up with tariff, what methodology do we use? How do we go about it? We have a tariff structure in our tariff policy, and this structure has been approved and adopted as well by EPRA. And what it looks at is the revenue that we require as an organization to run the facilities, or rather to offer the services that we offer, and also to get a fair return on the assets that we have. So the structure, the modeling really looks at what we call a regulated asset base. And when you talk about regulated asset base, it means that not everything in our asset register is allowed. So there are some items that may not be allowed, especially if they are not directly related to the service. And of course, revaluation of assets are also not allowed. So we have the regulated asset base, and we are allowed a return or a rate of return on those assets. Then the tariff modeling also looks at the expenses, the operating and maintenance expenses, and what we need for that. We are allowed to provide for depreciation and also for taxes. There are tariff principles that we must adhere to as KPC. These are principles that are given by the regulator for regulated entities. First is the working capital. Other than the regulated asset base, we also are allowed a cash, provision for cash, which is determined as 45 days of the operating and maintenance expenditures. And then in the inventory that we are allowed is up to 2% of the regulated asset base. That means that it's not up to KPC to just determine what the cash in the balance sheet should be or what the inventory will be, because it all impacts on the tariff. So that is heavily regulated. In terms of the capital structure, as much as we are aware that the assets, or rather the facilities that we have are pretty much equity, for purposes of tariff setting, we are allowed 80% equity and 20% debt capital structure. Then the rate of return on equity that we have been allowed, that is the rate, or rather the return on the equity portion of the capital is 10.5. This is also as given. And the weighted average cost of capital for the debt portion of the capital is really what is prevailing in the market, or rather what is prevailing for the loans that we have. So we have some critical inputs that go into the tariff determination. And the first one for us is the regulated asset base. We look at COSUF. Currently, we are at 5.9 billion. That is the asset at COSUF, 5.9 billion. And we expect it to go down to 5.8 by the end of this financial year, mainly because of the impact of depreciation and the fact that we are not expecting a lot of investment in this facility. Then the asset base is going to decline to 4.6 in the last year of the next tariff control period, which ends in 2026-27. Now for KPRL, we are at 4.6, and we expect to be at 6.1 billion Kenya shillings in 2024-25, mainly due to the capitalization of the investment that we've made at Port Rees. And we are also requesting in this new tariff application that we be allowed to continue upgrading the KPRL facilities, and we are now focusing on the Changamwe facility, which needs to be rehabilitated and some of the equipment modernized. We all appreciate that this is an old facility constructed in 1963, and for us to be able to effectively use it to handle petroleum products, we need to upgrade quite a number of the systems there. And we also need to upgrade the line that runs from KOT to the facility itself, because it's a 12-inch line. What then happens is that when a vessel is discharging at KOT2, the vessel has the capacity to discharge at a rate of up to 4,000, even 4,500 per hour, cubic meters per hour, and that is the discharge rate that is used to receive the products at COSUF. But when it comes to KPRL Changamwe, because of the size of the pipeline, then the flow rate is reduced significantly, because we can only receive by at around, as much as the vessel can discharge at 4,500 cubic meters per hour, the facility can only receive at about 800 cubic meters per hour. So this means that when a vessel is discharging into Changamwe, it will take like even 3 days or more, and that then leads to demurrage costs. Ideally, when a vessel is charging into COSUF, it does so within one day or 1.5 days, but when the products are being received at Changamwe, they take up to 3 days. So by doing the investment that we are requesting and which we are proposing and seeking government approval for, we expect to reduce the demurrage costs, which of course will lessen the burden to the mwananchi through the pump price. So that is a key investment that is being proposed for the next tariff control period. Then the other key input is the operating expenses. At COSUF and KPRL, what we've done, we've used 2022-23 actual expenses as the base year, and our allowed or requested to be allowed a 10% growth rate, except for the maintenance bit of it, because maintenance is all about rehabilitating or cleaning tanks, and you cannot just apply a growth rate. Normally it comes at a cost, sometimes up to around 200 million per tank. There are quite a number of tanks scheduled for maintenance. We have 4 at COSUF and 2 at KPRL. So the 10% does not apply to the tanks maintenance line. So operating expenses that we are requesting for, by 2022-23, we were at 1.2 billion Kenya shillings. We expect to end, or rather 2023-24, we expect that once the accounts are audited, the figure of 1.47 may prevail. That is billion Kenya shillings. And then in 2024-25, what we have in our model is 1.3 billion Kenya shillings, growing in the next years and ending at 1.8 billion Kenya shillings in the last year of the tariff control period. KPRL, the same thing. We expect that the figure of 1.47 for 2023-24 will be confirmed once audited. That's we are calling it provisional. So we'll be at 1.4 billion, and we expect to grow at KPRL by up to 1.6 billion Kenya shillings in the first year of the tariff control period, increasing to 1.9 billion Kenya shillings in the last year of the tariff control period. Now, in the modeling, what we've done, we've taken out, because we need to unbundle and show the expenses related to the various services. And for the truck loading bit, we've taken out 6.8% of the KPRL OPEX to run the model for truck loading, rather the tariff for truck loading. The third and last key input into the tariff modeling is the throughput projections. We closed the year at 9.5 total size of market. That is the local demand and the transit imports. We closed at 9.5, and we are projecting that in 2024-25 we shall be at 10 million cubic meters per annum, and that is a growth of 5%. And in the subsequent years, we are then looking at a growth of 4%, ending at 10.8 million cubic meters in 2026-27. And for the truck loading, we closed at 429,000. And we expect to grow that number to 500,000 cubic meters in 2026-27. Then in the modeling, we also are cognizant of the fact that some products are received into VTTI, and we've allowed 8% of the total imports then to go into VTTI. So, ladies and gentlemen, those are the numbers that we've derived from our tariff modeling, and this is what we are requesting to be considered by EPRA and the stakeholders. So we are looking at a tariff of, in dollars, $4.62 US per cubic meters, growing to $5, and then ending at $5.07 per cubic meter in the last year of the tariff control period. That presents a 23% growth in the first year, 8% in the next, and 1% in the last year. Now, I know that the products, domestic products, are currently charged in Kenya shillings, and that goes into the pump price, but the transit material we charge in US dollars. Truck loading, the truck loading tariff, we are requesting that it goes up to $3.28 per cubic meters, 3.42 in the next year, and then drop to $3.3 US per cubic meters in the last year of the tariff control period. So those are the rates that we have made an application for, and we are requesting that the stakeholders consider. Then lastly, it's important for us to appreciate that even as we present these numbers, what does it mean for us as consumers? Because we are all consumers. It means then that we are going to increase the pump price by 62 cents per liter. Currently, import handling and storage and primary storage of products accounts for 4 cents in the pump price. So the proposal is that we increase it by about 2 cents, and if everything remains constant, then of course you'll see that impact in the pump price. In terms of total contribution in percentage, it is negligible, but we do appreciate that in the times that we are living in, we don't just assume that 2 cents does not matter. 2 cents matter, especially where you are moving large volumes. So those are the numbers, and that is how eventually, if approved as presented, that is how it's going to impact us. So we are looking at close to 2 cents increase. Then it's important for us also as KPC to ensure that we continue to remain competitive even as we do our business. And we've compared our rates with what is pertaining within the other facilities in the region. And we are, in our assessment, we feel that we are still much cheaper than VTTI by over 50%, and also by cheaper than products handling through Shimanzi by over 50%. And truck loading, we do agree, is still quite comparable in terms of rates. We are still remaining competitive with being lower than what is offered at VTTI by more than 30%, and SOT by more than 15%. So that is the application that we've made. Tariff determination is really an output of the inputs, and as much as we are seeing an increase, a request for an increase this time, that is not always the case. We believe that once we've done the investments that are required, after this, the next tariff control period, we should be seeing a more kind of a tariff that does not present, or tariff application that presents such significant adjustments. So those are the numbers, and I know it's quite a bit, but I hope you've been able to get it, and we shall have some robust engagements around there. Thank you very much.
Thanks once again. So I hope you've had around 30 minutes or so of presentation of, the overview of the infrastructure with the KPC, as well as the proposed numbers. We are going to go into a very important session now, where we intend to take up any comments, questions, or issues that you may be having. I think KPC has presented nicely on what goes into this tariff determination, what went into the numbers that they submitted to EPRA for purposes of consideration of a tariff for the next 3-year period. Of course, the last time we reviewed this tariff was 2021. And I think KPC has been able to demonstrate what kind of infrastructure they were able to put up utilizing that tariff they were given in 2021. I think you've seen the new truck loading facility in KPRL. They've done an LPG truck loading facility still at KPRL. Money to rehabilitate some tanks in Port Reitz. And of course connected KPRL to line 5. I think they've also shown us, or rather the principles that we ask them to abide by when they are making this tariff application to EPRA. They have to make sure they consider their operations and maintenance cost, provide for a return on the investment, provide a return of that investment in terms of depreciation, and of course the throughput projections. I think projected to grow by 5% in the first year, then 4% thereafter. So they went further to demonstrate to us the tariffs as they would look like, taking into consideration all the planned activities they intend to have for the next 3 years. I think growing by around 23% in the first year, and then another 8% and a drop in the last year. That is for the imports handling and primary storage, as well as for the truck loading tariffs. And of course, we've seen what is the impact of those tariffs in the pump price. What they are proposing now will translate to around 60 cents per liter in the pump price. What we have currently is around 40 cents. So that's an increase of around 20 cents per liter. It might appear very small, but it's a significant number because it affects the pump prices directly. I think you've also been able to see a comparative analysis between what other private players charge vis-a-vis what KPC is charging at the moment and what they are proposing to charge over the three-year period. So in essence, what KPC is telling us is, for me to be able to run this business for the next 3 years, I need an increment of around 20 cents per liter. And that is a question now that we pose to you, whether you agree with those numbers as presented, whether you agree with the proposed plan that KPC has in order to ensure that they're able to sustain their business and run for the next 3 years. And so what, in a nutshell, what do you say? So you want to have a round of questions. I'll take around 5 questions if there are any. I see the first hand up, and I think there was somebody else who had who wanted to ask the question as we're doing the presentation. So we'll do 5 questions, then we respond to those 5 questions, then take another set of questions. So introduce yourself, give us your name and where you are coming from, then ask your question.
Thank you. My name is John Tsuma. I come from Vita. And thank you so much for the presentation. But of greater concern, I felt that we could have even been more productive if at all whatever the presentation which is being done were the papers which we ought to be having. Because now, having figures floated, and then you're not having the same, and then we're told about the formula of arriving to the tariffs and whatever affects the tariff, and then you're not having the same here, so that you can also refer back. I think now, I don't know if everyone will grasp everything, but I think maybe that's one of the things which is a letdown kidogo. But if it's there, it can be provided. I think it can easily guide us through, because it was just throwing figures, which is not bad. But now even to follow up on the same, and even to come up, even question maybe why are we having this? Because there are even some figures of a depreciation value of assets 5.8 billion, and then with a depreciation cost of projection of about 1-point-something billion in 1 year. And then I was wondering, okay, maybe what are these things which are depreciating into a value of 1-point-something billion? Maybe what are we making so much, and we're having that kind of a depreciation. And then in your presentation, you had alluded to folding of KPRL to KPC. Even some of the assets in Nairobi, and I don't know if the ones also in Mombasa, they also folded to KPC. And then there was a mention of another private storage company apart from the KPC. So I don't know, with these tariffs, is also the other private also included? Okay, I don't understand. But if we have that document with you, if it can be shared, we can even come up with some good questions maybe going forward. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, John. So I don't know whether we have any other question. Because I think John is raising a very fundamental issue in terms of having that presentation up front. And I think we truly apologize for that. We need to find a mechanism. Either we have it uploaded on EPRA website or KPC website, so that when you're coming for this engagement, you've interrogated the numbers, and so that we're all on the same page. Your hand was the one which was up as she was doing the presentation, or there was somebody else? Yes.
Thank you for the engagement. My question, I had two. The first one was exactly what you had asked.
Please reintroduce yourself. I remember you said you're from Total. Or
Yeah, Total Energies.
I don't remember the name.
Yeah, Kinyo Thuku Jeremy from Total Energies. First question was the same as to what he'd asked about having the information. In some other seminars, what we have is that as soon as you enter and they have your number, they can forward you on WhatsApp. So you have, as the session goes on, you can read through. Because some of this information will go back to our respective workstations, and we'll want to share with our colleagues. And it's best if we had the first-hand information. The second question was with regards to LPG filling, truck filling. What would the charges be? Would they be the same as those ones which were expressed for liquid fuels, PMS and AGO? Thank you.
Thank you. I think we've taken note of the first comment, and we truly apologize for that. I think it's something that we need to work on, so that we are all on the same page in terms of information that is being presented. Second question, I think that was on LPG truck filling, whether these tariffs will apply for LPG truck filling, or it's only the white oils. So do we have any other question? I think there's a hand, Bon. Turn it on, I believe.
Hello. Morning to everybody. My name is Benedict Okot of POAC. I have a question. I've heard that you are talking of an increment of the tariff. What is it coming with? What is that tariff coming with in terms of the loading capacity, things with the power outage at KPRL, so that the services can improve?
Thanks for that question. I noticed you walked in a bit late, and probably you might have missed the earlier stages of the presentation, but I'll ask KPC just to have a quick rundown on why there is that proposed increment. So, do we have any other question before I ask KPC to respond to them? Because I believe they're all touching on KPC. One is on the request to share this information up front. I think that is duly noted. Letitia and KPC, I think we need to find a way of availing this information up front, so that the members are able to follow through the presentation. There was a second question from John from Vita, asking about those KPRL numbers. He saw an asset value of around 5 billion. He's seeing some depreciation of 1 billion. He's wondering, how is it you are depreciating this asset in 5 years or what? So I think probably might need to revisit that slide and show, probably go explain further. I think Jeremy from Total asked the same question about information sharing and the LPG truck filling tariff. Then lastly, we have the member from POAC. That is a outlets association, yeah? Yeah, this increment of tariff that you are requesting from EPRA, what does it come with? What, are they going to see an improvement in service delivery? So that when you are paying more, you know that there is a reason to it. So I think, I don't know whether it's Elizabeth or Zilpa. Elizabeth, who's gonna? Oh. Afunta momba ongea Kiswahili kidogo.
Don't bully. I'll take the one on LPG and then Elizabeth will handle depreciation. LPG is not a regulated product, therefore it does not go to the regulator to advise on tariffs. So there is a separate tariff for that, for which you have to sign a separate agreement that I'm sure Total already has. One day, when it comes under the regulated regime, then there'll be a uniform tariff across different installations. So, and I'm sure Total knows what the loading rate is currently. It was reviewed, and that is charged per OMC, but it is a standard rate. Elizabeth, maybe you could speak to depreciation, which notably occurs over a period of time, and for whatever slide she had indicated, the asset classes keep depreciating gradually over the different years, so it's not one depreciated value. Or Pius, you will.
Yeah, it was not very clear on what was required on depreciation, but I want to it was this question was asked about why the assets are probably moving down or upwards, the value of the assets. And I think what was mentioned is when you do a project or when you buy an asset, you capitalize, becomes a capital item. Then you amortize or depreciate over the life, or what you consider to be the useful life of that particular asset. Let's say, for instance, if you take, like you build a loading facility, we expect in the next 10 years, that facility will have already depreciated. That is the useful life. By 10 years, you'll probably need to replace that asset. So what happens is that number for the asset will keep on coming down because you're amortizing that particular amount. It will keep on coming down as you progress. However, what you realize, as you also add new assets, that number also keeps on going up. Nadhani tunaelewana. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah, but before we go there, you need to realize that those are two, there's COSIF and KPRL. So the 8.16 is under the KPRL assets.
Yes.
Then the 4.6 you're alluding to is under COSIF. And that is why we said if you look at KPRL, that is where 2025, there will be huge investments. That is why you can see the assets are going up. But come 2026, it is only depreciation which will be affecting the assets, so they'll reduce.
Okay, I get you. But I don't know if you get me or you're refusing to. You see, in the KPRL,
yeah,
there are major investments. We don't dispute that. And that's why if you go to the projections, you'll see it has also gone up. We're together.
KPRL, yeah, it has gone up.
It has gone up.
2024-25 to 2025-26.
Yes.
The value has gone up from
because of the major additional investment. But also, we haven't been told in terms of value, what's the value of those major investments which have been added so that they have increased to that number.
So your issue is what is the composition? What are the particular items that are taking up the number?
My biggest concern will be the amount in depreciation value. I don't know, I see it as way too much.
Oh, you want to know what is the depreciation? Maybe we are not communicating. I don't know whether there is somebody who is getting it clearer. He can clarify. You want to know the depreciation element?
Yeah, okay, yeah, maybe the depreciation element, or maybe at what percentage it's being, the value, in terms of percentage you're taking at while calculating the same.
You know, when we talk of depreciation, there are different classes of depreciation. Like for instance, if you are depreciating a computer, it will have a different useful life. It will be 3 years. Yeah, so that will be like 30%, 33% every year. If you talk of a pipeline you will depreciate like for 40 years. That is about 2.5% every year. So you cannot peg this into a certain percentage because it comprises of different classes of assets. And each class has a different depreciation percentage. So the only thing you can see here, or can be worked out here, if you get the slides, is the absolute number. But if you go down to percentage, you will realize that different classes have different percentages or useful lives. If it's 10 years, it means definitely you are depreciating 10% of that asset every year.
Okay, maybe I'll leave it to that, because when she mentioned about the major investment, she was specific into the items which are going to be added, so that they can also help in the capacity and efficiency of the same. Maybe I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Maybe we can engage after this. I get to understand your question better, so that we can be able to probably to give you feedback. Sasa.
And maybe I have one last one, if you don't mind, since I was holding a mic, so that I don't get to return it or borrow it again. Though this is just off, because KPC is next to another estate, Changamwe NHC, and then there's a school also. And then there's this affordable housing which are coming up, and they're going to be also like skyscrapers also. I don't know maybe what safety measures are going to be provided, so that at least if the same is coming up, and I hear there's some other underground pipes, either for gas and petrol. I don't know, maybe other safety measures which are being taken, so that at least also it doesn't affect the residents in that area. Thank you.
Maybe I'll call, I hope you are alluding to KPRL. I think Changamu is KPRL. I can ask my brother from KPRL just to respond to your question.
Okay, thank you for that question. KPRL has been in existence since 1963. The facility or the housing estate has been there for quite some time, and the operation since then has not given us indication that there are issues. I know it could be a safety hazard, but our safety controls has given us confidence. The pipeline that will be constructed at the Wayleaf, which is far away from this facility. It is also constructed deep into the ground. That is also a safety measure. So we don't see any concerns. We are aware that people sometimes come closer to the Wayleaf, but we keep in contact with the administration to make sure that they do not come much closer to the Wayleaf. The other question that had been asked about KPRL is what is coming with this tariff increase? For those who have been with me since 2019, comparing my performance then and now, I believe they are seeing the value. As I speak, most of the loading islands are idle now. That means I've surpassed the capacity. There is also a trend of having the orders very late into the day, but even with that, I'm able to service the day loadings. So I think that answers that question. The other comment is about alternative power, and we've been in discussion with this for quite some time. We have made arrangements, and we are to put a generator, and the discussion to have that in place is at advanced stage. So I believe KPRL, KPC cooperation in terms of modernizing the facility will take care of that. Thank you.
I believe most of the questions have been tackled. The issue of movement of asset is a bit complicated when you're not seeing the different capital items that are coming on board and the depreciation figures, but we can take that out here. We can have that discussion outside the meeting. The last item that have not, I think I want to just mention, there was a question about the private storage facilities, whether the tariff application we are making covers VTTI as well. No, this is just for the common user facility that is being operated by KPC. So it does not cover VTTI.
Thank you. So I'm told the presentation will be up on our website, both EPRA and the KPC website. Once you're able to access that presentation, I believe Osia will be sharing, I don't know whether he's in the room, Osia will be sharing, he'll be displaying an email address where you can still send your comments after you've had a thorough look at that application. But if you're able to put it down, it's info@epra.go.ke. But we'll display that email address as we are winding up this forum. So, I noticed tuko na maendeleo ya wanawake. I've not had a comment from a lady. So maybe you can try and open this second round for us. Yeah? Where is the mic that was going around? Please give to one of those ladies, because I think they have a comment.
Habari za saizi. Swali letu ni kama lile ndugu ameuliza. Ingekuwa ni rahisi kama tungekuwa na zile karatasi tuangalie.
Asante, I think tutashughulikia hiyo. Na nawaomba mkipata hiyo presentation, please have a look at it.
Yes.
And try and remember what was being presented. Ndio mtutumie any concerns or comments you have. Kuna mtu yote mwingine ambaye ana swali? Ama kuna mtu yote ambaye anataka kusema yeye yuko sawa, ameona hizo namba ziko sawa, KPC waende wafanye kazi? Yeah. You have another question? Yeah, uliza too, we don't mind.
Okay, I just wanted to know or understand maybe what happened to our drilling, oil drilling, since we closed on our refinery. We also having plans in the future to also refine our own oil, or it's dead business?
Asante kwa hiyo swali. I think that's still it's a program that is still on course. You had the KJV partners, you know what they did is a discovery. Right now they are out there trying to make what we call a final investment decision. They need to bring on board financing parties, because now they're in the phase where they need to get that commodity out of the ground. Ideally, that is called production. Yeah. So until they're able to lock in financing, marshal enough resources to be able to do production. So those they did submit what we call a field development plan in terms of how they intend to develop that field. And part of their proposal was they are going to build a crude oil pipeline all the way from Lokichar to Lamu, because our refinery here is closed, so we are not able to utilize it to refine the crude coming. So the plan that is there currently is to sell that crude to the major refineries in the world, likes in of course the UAE, India. So those plans are still there. They've not really, they've not gone away. So we are still hopeful that we are going to extract that product from the ground. Yes.
There's some barrels which were taken off from Turkana, and then they were shipped outside. And then from me, that was the end when I heard about the oil from Turkana, the crude oil from Turkana to Mombasa for refining, which it meant there were some productions found, and then I don't know if it was continuity or what.
Yeah, that was not the end, but rather the first. What they were trying to do with that program, it was called an early oil pilot scheme. Yeah, so you have your product there. So you want to do some sort of market discovery. How much will this crude of mine fetch in the international market? So that early oil pilot scheme was an overall program. Sell whatever you've been able to produce. That product was being tracked all the way from Lokichar to the refinery here, where there are crude oil tanks stored until they were able to get a buyer. So it was all about testing the market for your crude. How much would it fetch in the international market? So that program is still, the early oil is not there, but it was more of a starting point, so that now you have a clear idea of the price that this crude that you are producing fetches in the international market compared to the other crude oil produced elsewhere.
This will be my last one. This will be my last one. On the Somalia-Kenyan border, we also have something to do with the oil and gas, whereby it also brought in some neighborhood fighting, which we went to other high courts. I don't know, is it a venture also maybe EPRA or Kenya is foreseeing in terms of reducing the price of oil and gas, because it's one of the commodities which normally makes life also really expensive?
Allow me to take the question from the gentleman next to you, then we'll respond to yours as well.
Asante sana. My name is Jack Maina. My question is on LPG. For quite some time we've been promised to have cheaper, maybe domestic gas, but I don't think we have touched on that issue. We've been on petroleum only.
Thank you. Stella, you might want to respond to that. Oh, there's another question. Let us take.
Kwa majina ni Assumpta. Ninaongelea kuhusu nimesikia madam akisema kutakuwa na reconstruction of the refinery. After reconstruction kutakuwa na storage ama kutakuwa na refining. Alafu swali langu ni kuhusu afya. Kuna tetesi kwamba hapo kuna estate hapo karibu ninaishi hapo, kulikuwa na shida ya afya kwa wale neighbors. So naomba ni clarify.
You're aware? So I think we'll ask KPRL to respond to that, though Ananiambia is not aware about that issue. Probably should be able to elaborate more so that they're able to address the issues. So I think we have a question from Zach on LPG, cheaper domestic gas. Why are we not there yet? We've only been focusing on the white oils, and of course the issue of offshore exploration, I think, in the Indian Ocean. Is it a venture that we are still pursuing, especially with the tussle that it's brought with our neighboring country? And I think Assumpta is asking about the refinery. You said, are you reconstructing the refinery, or is it just the storage tanks that you are doing? Yeah. And of course the last question was on health issues, probably to the community living around the refinery. Yeah. So so for LPG, okay. So let me ask Elizabeth to come and respond to that issue of refinery. What they are doing in the refinery? Are they bringing back the refinery itself, or is just story that they are doing? And ask to respond to the health issues. Though I think that is probably, you might want to pick it up more with him outside the meeting, especially on that health issue.
Thank you, Assumpta, for that question. Just to clarify, refinery stopped refining in 2013. And as it is now, we are not reviving it. So hatutaraji kuwa tutaendelea kurefine. So what we are doing, kule Changamwe na Portrees, kuna matangi. Na hizo matangi, when the refinery ilikuwa ikioperate, ilikuwa inabeba crude oil. Na sasa tunataka kuzitumia kubeba refined products, petroli na diesel. Kwa hivyo kuna kusafishwa na repairs lazima tufanye ndio iweze kufanya hiyo, iweze kuhold the refined products. So hiyo ndio kazi tunafanya pale Changamwe na Portrees, kubadilisha hizo matangi ziwache kutoka kwa kutumika kwa crude oil zianze kutumika kwa refined products. Lakini mambo ya refinery kuwa revived, hiyo bado hatujui kama itawezekana in future. Nelson.
On the issue of health effects around the refinery, I'm not aware of any concern that has been raised. However, I think after this meeting, we could then link up and guide on how you could come to the refinery and help us understand what these are, whether they are related to the refinery, then we'll engage other stakeholders as well.
Thank you. Maybe Estella is coming. Maybe I just want to mention that LPG at the moment is not price regulated. It does not fall within the regulations that govern the petroleum pricing. Yeah, so what that means is that EPRA does not have the mandate to regulate or set prices for the LPG commodity. And the reason to that is because you see the tariff that we are looking at here today, you remember import handling, primary storage is for the refined, the white oils. We don't have such a common user facility for LPG. Yeah? If you don't have a common user facility for LPG, what it then means is that that segment is under the control of the private players. But KPC has plans. They want to do an LPG facility. Once we have that common user facility, then depending on the policy guidance we get, we might be able to shift to what we call the open tender system as well for LPG. Yeah, so that it's governed under the same pricing regulations. You invite tenders for deliveries of LPG. The lowest bidder wins. Product comes here, and EPRA sets the price for the for LPG commodity. So those plans are there, but currently we have no control really of the LPG prices. So I'll ask Stella to probably add one or two things, and if you can touch on the issue of the offshore exploration, and maybe give us a way forward after that.
Thank you, Leonard. On LPG, Cabinet last year in September or October passed what is called the LPG expansion program. So what the aim of that program is to increase the uptake and consumption of LPG per capita uptake from about 7.5 where we are now to 15. What that means is that we have more people accessing LPG, because when you say 7.5 per capita, it means out of all the LPG that comes in, when you spread it in the whole population, and then it results in 7.5. So if that number goes up, it means we have more people accessing that product. So there are various projects which are ongoing. At the moment, we have LPG for schools. And they are starting with 20 schools, whereby LPG is going to be used in those schools. In this financial year, the target is much higher. So it's not that LPG has been fully ignored. The LPG expansion program is going to ensure that we have more people accessing LPG for the purposes of using clean energy across the nation. And even alongside that, there were plans in place, which deliberations are still ongoing, in I think in February this year, whereby we had a session at Kenya School of Government in Nairobi. It was a national workshop on LPG, and the then Cabinet Secretary spoke about also increasing access for cylinders to the population. We're going to get about 4.5 million cylinders injected into the population. So once that happens, obviously you expect to have more people accessing LPG. So increased access to LPG has not been totally ignored. As an authority, what we do, we ensure that safety comes key, because LPG is a product which, if not managed, we can have fatalities. And we have the example of Mradi, which happened early this year, and we lost a few lives. We lost lives, which even one life is not worth losing. So what we do in the licensing for both the facility, because what has happened, there's been an increase in LPG storage and filling facilities across the country. We do the construction permit. We issue the license, rather the permit for construction. So when you intend to put up a facility, we make sure that you meet the standards which have been set. If you're a transporter for LPG, there are some standards to be met. And even your truck will have to be inspected. Alongside that, if there's an LPG accident, regardless of what type of accident it is, whether it is a cylinder which has exploded in someone's home, whether it is a truck accident, maybe you find that there's vapor leakage in the facilities, on the road, or any type of LPG-related accident or incident, as an authority, we investigate and put in place measures to minimize and act as a deterrent to future events. So we try to be as much as actively present from head office to our regional offices in all the LPG-related activities. So it's a product of great concern, not concern, but we look at it with a lot of attention, because in as much as it's good, if it's mishandled, we can have problems. I mean, the safety hazards we do not even want to consider. So the other thing that we do as well is we are currently having a review of the regulations of LPG. So previously we had what we call LN 100, but we've done a review, and it's currently at the AG's office. They're looking at what has happened. Because one thing we realize as an authority is that most of the accidents involving LPG, especially the domestic accidents, it's not to do with the cylinders. It's usually with the accessories. So you find someone brings in an accessory which is of very low quality, and then what happens is that it results in an accident, especially for domestic use. So that, together with KEBS, we're going to work towards ensuring that whatever comes in, even if it is cheap, it meets the standard. Because as it is right now, people bring in various qualities, and some of them are not safe for consumption. So that is also going to be under the purview, such that if you're bringing in accessories, you're bringing in good quality accessories for LPG. So we are looking at LPG as an authority from all directions. So I was told after that I need to move on the way forward. I know there are people who have to go and do their prayers, because today is Friday. So what we are going to do from here, I think I will request Chacha to please share the email address for where we're going to send our comments, because there's been a request from Mombasa that we put the presentation online, so it will be on KPC website as well as EPRA website. And after reading it, because maybe there are things you didn't see today, or there's something maybe, you know, it comes after an afterthought and you think, I should have said this or I should have said that, we request that you send the email to this address, which is on the screen right now. So you use that headline, comments on KPC tariff, import handling and primary storage and truck loading tariffs. That is how your email should be titled. And please send it to info@epra.go.ke. So from here, we will receive all your comments, and those which have not been mentioned, please send them to the email there. And maybe because today was Friday and we're not able to get the full crowd, we request that you share with the various people you interact with, because this is for posterity. Change is never always easy, but change must happen. And for progress, there are some what we call growing pains. So what Madam Elizabeth has presented, it's for us to ensure the security of supply, because if they do not do what they have indicated they intend to do, we can have supply disruption, and we only have one pipeline. So your input to this discussion is very important. Do not ignore it, and we request that you share it with those you know. Maendeleo ya Wanawake, please ensure your members are aware. Those from various other sectors, civil society, please ensure that people get access to the document. It will be on our website. So please make sure people have access, and your feedback is key. As the Deputy Director said in the message from the DG, we want to know what the public thinks. So from here, we will move on to Western Kenya next week for the same exercise and collect the comments which we will receive from the public. Thereafter, all the comments will be received and shared with the board. And after it gains board approval, or if the board decides there's some amendments to be made, then now they will either approve or the amendments are made, and then a new tariff will be in place. Because as it is, we are a little bit time bad. Tuko nyuma kidogo. Ilikuwa ifaa itoke mwezi wa 6, lakini sasa tuko mwezi wa 10 na bado hawajapata hiyo tariff. Na kama sasa kuna matanki yanahitajika kufanyiwa maintenance, so vitu kama hizo yenye Madam Elizabeth alitaja ni muhimu zifanywe. So that is the way forward. I kindly request Mr. Omar to come and give the vote of thanks on behalf of EPRA. Karibu Bwana Omar.
Habari zenu. Mimi kwa majina ni Abdullahi Mohamed Omar, mfanyakazi wa mamlaka ya uthabiti wa nishati na mafuta. Langu ni kupeana shukrani kwa niaba ya mamlaka ya uthabiti wa nishati na mafuta. Kwanza kabisa napenda kutoa shukrani zetu za dhati kwa Mwenyezi Mungu mwingi wa rehema kwa kutujalia afya, amani na rehema, na kutuwezesha kujumuika hapa bila matatizo yoyote na kutafakari kwa kina juu ya jambo hili muhimu katika sekta yetu ya uagizaji, uhifadhi na usafirishaji wa mafuta, na kutoa mchango yetu. Ningalipenda pia kuwashukuru wasimamizi wa IBRA, wasimamizi na bodi wa IBRA na KPC kwa kufanikisha Kiswahili ngumu kwa kufanikisha na kufadhili mkutano wa leo na kwa kujibu maswali zenu na kuwafafanulia hoja ya leo. Muhimu zaidi, napenda kuwashukuru nyinyi wadau kwa mchango yenu wa dhati kubwa. Kwa hakika bila nyinyi hatungekuwa na mkutano huu. Asanteni sana. Shukran.
Thank you, Omar. I doubt that is not from ChatGPT anyway. But it's okay. We are going to proceed to lunch. Lunch is served. You'll be guided from outside the room. So, asanteni sana kwa kuja, vile aliposema Omar. So, tutaenda kukula, alafu tuwe na mchana mwema. Asanteni.